I witnessed the death of my colleagues, unfortunately, before my own eyes in 2013. A suicide car bomb attack carried out by the terrorist group of Taliban. I survived, but hundreds of my colleagues from Supreme Court lost their lives. Until today, I still ask myself what was the fault of my colleague Zarguna, for example, and my other colleagues from Supreme Court. We simply said goodbye to each other, just in the door of Supreme Court, and never knowing that it would be our last goodbye.
Hello everyone. I hope you're all happy and healthy along with your respected families wherever located on this God's green earth. Welcome to today's episode of the Real Talks with Amini, and I'm honored to have Ms. Tahmina Safi, former Afghanistan judge, co-founder of Afghanistan Impact Network, and a prominent leader of anti-Taliban Afghans in exile. And we'll talk with her about her background, about her views of the current situation in Afghanistan, as well as her proposed solution for Afghanistan. So please be with us. We'll have an insightful discussion with Ms. Safi. Ms. Safi, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. Maybe we can start by having you tell us more about yourself, about your background. What have you been doing for Afghanistan? What are you doing for Afghanistan these days?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Mr. Amini, for having me in this impactful platform. I'm pleased to introduce myself to our audience and our people of Afghanistan. I was born and raised in Kabul, Afghanistan. I completed my school half in Pakistan and half in Afghanistan, as education was very important for my family. So during the first takeover of Kabul by the Taliban, we migrated to Pakistan, and we did half of our school along with my siblings, half of the school in Pakistan, and then after the fall of Taliban in 2000s, we came back to Kabul, Afghanistan, and we continued our studies and finished school. Then I got the chance to pass the Conclure exam, and I studied the Sharia law and did my bachelor's degree in Kabul University of Afghanistan. Then after that, I succeeded to pass the Magistracy School of Supreme Court, where the judges were trained. So I studied there after passing the exam among the thousands of law students. I completed the school and to be trained as a judge. And after completing the Magistracy School of Supreme Court, I started working as a professional judge. My career in Afghanistan judicial system, and I worked in criminal division of Supreme Court of Afghanistan as a reporting judge from 2012 to 2015, and later served as a primary criminal court and public rights judge until 2016. I also served as the director of integrity, as the elected director of integrity control of Afghan Supreme Court Judges Association, and my work as a judge gave me a deep understanding of importance of justice and rule of law and equal rights in Afghanistan and worldwide. And it was a very interesting journey for me. I witnessed both struggles in terms of security and hopes of Afghan citizens who deemed of a fair and democratic, dreamed of democratic and fair society. I witnessed the death of my colleagues, unfortunately, before my own eyes in 2013. A suicide car bomb attack carried out by the terrorist group of Taliban. I survived, but hundreds of my colleagues from Supreme Court lost their lives.
Yeah.
Until today, I still ask myself what was the fault of my colleague Zarghuna, for example, who was closely working for me in one room, in one courtroom, and my other colleagues from Supreme Court. We simply said goodbye to each other, just in the door of Supreme Court, and never knowing that it would be our last goodbye. That in just 2 seconds, we can never see each other again. They would no longer be with us. Who will answer this question? The suffering caused by those responsible for these brutal attacks continue to haunt us still today. I remember that after a month of being unable to return to office, I finally came back to office, but there was no Zarghuna, no other colleagues. There was no one. I kept asking myself, where is she? It was one of the hardest and most painful moments of my life. But I want to tell to my friend, wherever you are, we will always remember you, and we will continue to seek justice for you, inshallah. And I want to tell to my friend's family that we still remember her, and we stand with you. To all my colleagues from Supreme Court and Primary Court and all judges and comrades, I want to tell them that today is the day to stand for justice. If not today, then when? And coming back to myself, later in 2016, I applied for French government scholarship. I received a scholarship from the French government and continued my education in France. I completed a master's degree in French and European Union law at University of Cergy-Pontoise, that now it's called Cergy Paris University. And I did my specialization in law and business ethics, and also I did a part of taxation law. And then because of the insecure situation of Afghanistan, as we already know, and also personal threats by the Taliban, I couldn't go back to Afghanistan, and I decided to continue my professional path in legal compliance and ethics field in France. I worked with a very reputed bank in Paris in financial crime compliance, particularly in compliance transformation and corporate social responsibility standards. And previous to that, I worked in a pharmaceutical firm where I contributed in writing of code of ethics of the company. And right now I'm working as sanction and embargoes compliance analyst in this reputed bank. However, despite of being in France and away from Afghanistan, my connection with Afghanistan never stopped. After the Taliban takeover, many Afghans who believed in democracy were forced into exile. Even from abroad, we have responsibility to continue defending the rights, dignity, and future of Afghan people, especially women, youth, and those who have no voices. And for me personally, through different national and international platforms, I have been active in Afghanistan affairs. I continued advocating for democratic Afghanistan where every citizen has equal rights and where the future is decided by the people through the principle of one person, one vote. The recent one was the World Forum, where I participated in the month of February, if I remember well, and where it was held in Berlin. I demanded the international community to not recognize the Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan and take the gender apartheid seriously, and to create a focal point for all anti-Taliban activists. I demanded the international community, whoever that believe in democracy, to host our office as the government in exile of democratic Afghans.
Well, thank you very much for that detailed information about yourself, background, the testimony. Basically, you're an eyewitness of the tragedies that have gone through to our people, and of course the people in law enforcement and judges and those trying to enforce justice in the country have been deeply affected. And the tragedy is that the murderers of Zarghuna and others are right now in charge of Afghanistan. So hopefully we'll get rid of them soon, and to Zarghuna and all the colleagues and everyone who has lost their lives, God bless their souls, and their blood will not be in vain, and we will avenge them. Thank you very much for being the voice and to continue to advocate for Afghanistan. So I know you're connected to a wide array of people inside the country in various parts. Of course, your network, you have a lot of people who are reporting and giving you information about what's going on the ground. So if you can tell us, to our viewers, what is your view of the situation right now in Afghanistan?
Well, thank you very much. For me, I believe that today Afghanistan is facing one of the darkest periods in the modern history. Millions of Afghans are suffering from poverty, economic hardship, displacement, and fear. Women and girls especially have been targeted and have been systematically removed from society. And no employment, no jobs, and severely restricted by the terrorist group of Taliban. The justice system has also deeply been affected. There is no justice system, I believe. And when there is no independent justice, no freedom of expression, and no accountability for ordinary people, and ordinary people are now the victim. Being a man or woman, there is no right for anyone. The Taliban regime has taken power without a democratic mandate from the Afghan people. The legitimacy of government must come from the consent of its people.
Thank you very much for that description. Of course, we know that the Taliban terrorists are committing atrocities throughout the country, taking the whole population as hostage. There's no pathway for the future. So Afghanistan is basically is turned into a huge prison, not just for women, but also for men. There's no interaction and there's no communication to the outside world. And on a daily basis, we hear how they're mistreating and insulting the people in Afghanistan. And I'm sure it affects people like yourself who are representing the justice system and seeing people in Afghanistan not receiving justice. I'm sure it's hurtful. But when you look at the policies of the regional countries and international community, how do you think is their position framed towards Afghanistan?
The world today is focused on many issues, like major issues, major crises, including Ukraine and conflict in Middle East. But these issues are important. But Afghanistan also deserve attention full attention, equal attention of the international community. Afghanistan has, I believe, and we all know that Afghanistan has a strategic and important position in the world because of its location, geographical location, young population, and natural resources. But it's it also presents serious challenges if it's ignored. And like terrorism, extremism, narcotics, and refugee crisis. And international community must understand that abandoning Afghanistan creates a risk not only by Afghans, not only for Afghans, but for global society as well. And supporting democracy in Afghanistan is not only a moral responsibility, it's also in the interest of countries that have value peace, stability and security and democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. Rightfully stated that Afghanistan is so much valuable. It's sometimes referred to as a prime real estate in the world, given its strategic location connecting South Asia to Central Asia and Middle East, and such an important location. And on top of that, of course, you mentioned the young population who are represented by young leaders like yourself, and also the natural resources, immense natural resources that Afghanistan has that it offers the world, that unfortunately the current regime and their authorities are stealing right now around the country with no accountability, with no system, with no mechanism that it could benefit not just the people of Afghanistan but also the people of the world. And so hopefully we'll move towards a situation where we could utilize those untapped potential of the country. But also you mentioned about the challenges that the country has right now, from terrorism to refugee crisis and others, that it could affect other countries if they don't pay attention to. So given the description that you provided and international community's stance towards Afghanistan, what is your proposed solution? How should this situation in Afghanistan be addressed?
Well, I believe that the solution begins with Afghan people themselves. And history shows that democratic changes come when the ordinary people unite around a shared vision. And the anti-Taliban democratic movement in exile must focus on unity, representative leadership, and transparency, and clear democratic alternative for the future. This movement must include women and youth as central leaders, because they represent the future of Afghanistan. And why is women leadership important? Because it directly challenges the Taliban's attempt to erase women from public life and society. Women are not victims waiting for rescue. They are leaders and equal partners in rebuilding Afghanistan. And a possible interim solution is a representative democratic structure in exile that can organize political efforts, coordinate with Afghans inside and outside the country, and prepare for a democratic transition, I believe.
Yeah, that's great. And this is something that you presented at the World Forum in Berlin. So we'll now request our viewers to, with your permission, of course, we'll show your clip, your presentation there, and to all of our viewers. Please watch Ms. Tahmina Safi's presentation in Berlin about her proposed solution, and we'll come back in a minute.
Individuals can spark movements for democracy. For example, in Afghanistan, Afghanistan is led by a terrorist organization which doesn't recognize Afghan women's rights and don't believe in human rights, while millions of Afghans who believe in democracy are living in exile. And one voice can be silenced, but many voices cannot be silenced. And Afghans are today working in exile for democracy. We are documenting
anti-human rights abuses by the Taliban, and we are establishing independent media and forming and building a united community across the world. And we are forming a democratic leadership which agree to one democratic goal and vision. And at the heart of this leadership, we have Afghan women and all other Afghans, ordinary Afghans across the world. So the democratic countries can help us to not only by putting pressure on the Taliban by targeted sanctions and seizing their assets, but also Taliban leaders, not ordinary Afghans, but also by providing diplomatic assistance to Afghans who believe in democracy and who live in exile. And we want to ask the international community and the democratic world to help us host a democratic alternative for Afghans who live in exile, and to help us build a government in exile which believes in democracy. And for that, we also need an Afghan woman leader. And by woman, it will not be just a symbolic role, but it will be to challenge the Taliban's ideology, which is to suppress women and to erase them from their voices from society and across the world. And our goal is clear. It's to ask the international and democratic countries to help us host an Afghan government in exile. And thank you very much.
Well, that was a fantastic presentation. It's very practical. It is something that is needed. You know, there's always a talk of how the international community could help. I mean, this is something that they could help. That if they could show willingness, one of these democratic capitals could show willingness to host an office for all of the democratic forces of Afghanistan, that all of us could come together and converge. Paris could be a good location, and other countries, of course, could volunteer to host us, so that we could organize, so we could coordinate, that we could rally around the Afghan flag and make sure that the necessary grounds are prepared in order to replace the Taliban through domestic resources and domestic means. This is the support and resources that they could provide to us, and this is something that they should. Yeah. So hopefully they will consider this practical solution. It's a very smart solution as well. So thank you very much for that. At the end, if you have any final message and thoughts to our international partners, we'll be glad to broadcast it.
Thank you very much once again. My message is simple. Afghanistan cannot be forgotten. Democratic countries have the tool to support anti-Taliban Afghans fighting for freedom. And support does not mean only statements. It means practical action. Our goal is united democratic coalition of Afghans, led by women and inclusive of all communities of Afghanistan. We are ready to work with the international community toward a stable Afghanistan that protects human rights and contributes to global security. And this is our clear and simple solution.
Absolutely, and it's the best solution. I mean, it makes complete sense to for all of the years of the atrocities that the Taliban regime have been committing on the people of Afghanistan, particularly on women. I think it's time for Afghanistan to have women leadership, and this is something that we could strive towards, and it's achievable, something that can be done. And if we're talking about justice, this is a sense of justice that we can deliver to Afghan women, for them to have the leadership of the country, given the fact that they are leading, as you can see from Ms. Tahmina Safi's example, they are rallying around from on the ground, from streets in Afghanistan and Kabul, Herat, and different
Yes,
provinces,
Herat
from
is there.
all of the streets in world capitals. These days we are hearing the protests, and it's
Yeah.
a majority of them are women
Exactly.
and girls who are participating and basically leading the fight for Afghanistan. So we're glad to have you. Afghanistan is blessed to have you. Thank you very much for all of the descriptions and details and information that you provided to us. I'm sure we'll have you more in the future to talk about and present your views on various aspects of the country, and I'm sure international partners will hear more from you. Thank you very much for the time. And to all of our viewers, this was our episode of Real Talks with Amini with Ms. Tahmina Safi, a former Afghanistan judge, co-founder of Afghanistan Impact Network, a prominent leader of anti-Taliban Afghans in exile, where she provided a detailed description about her background, her views of the current situation, as well as her proposed solution for Afghanistan. That's a government in exile, if we put it straightforward. Well, until our next episode, God bless you, God bless Afghanistan, and God bless our world. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.